Okay, so we've been working with part studios and creating individual parts. Now we're going to start dealing with assemblies. So in your document, you can see the tab studio and the tab manager. Alt T opens it and closes it. And you can see assembly one is one of your items in there. So this is an assembly. And if you want to create another assembly, the little plus sign allows you to create separate assemblies. And with an assembly, you have the ability to basically put parts together. So we are going to create an assembly. We're going to insert, and these are the different part studios. And Part Studio 2 has the side and top rails that we created. Um, Instead of clicking the individual parts, we'll just click the Part Studio, and we will just go to the green button. You'll notice you can move it around, but we don't want to do that. So we're just going to go up to the green button. And over on the left, these are our instances. And I've had a couple students accidentally close the instances um, section. So that little icon allows you to open it if you accidentally close it. So here's the assembly. So there's our two parts. And the first part, excuse me, first part that's listed, you can see there's this little icon that says has degrees of freedom. Now, what we want to do is we want to lock this in place. So with the right mouse button, you're able to select that and you can use fix. So now that we've got that fixed, that icon is changed. And now if I click on it, I can't move it. I get this little red button. The top rail can be moved. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that everything is fully constrained so that things don't accidentally get moved. So I'm just going to rotate my view. So the right mouse button allows you to rotate your view. And I'm going to just zoom in here. And we are going to do something called a fasten mate. So the fasten mate, basically, we're going to mate these two sides together so that way they're locked in place. And there's a lot of different ways that we can do this. I'm just moving this a bit to show you. So here's the fasten mate. And with the fasten mate, when you hold your mouse over a part, depending on what you hold your mouse over, you get little white dots. And I'm just going to rotate my view a little bit. You can see the red, green, and blue. So those are my X, Y, and Z axes. And that's how the part is oriented. So this face, that point, I got Z going up from the face and then green going down this edge and then red around. But if I select the line, you'll see Z is pointing in a different direction. So this is really, really crucial. Where you hold your mouse will determine what you're selecting. So I'm selecting the mate connector based on the line, or I'm selecting the mate connector based on the face. So if I select this face, that point, and then I hold my mouse over this face right here, and you'll notice zooming in makes it much easier to do this. So when you zoom in, the orientation is the same here. So when I fasten them, you can see they're oriented the correct way. So that is what I want to do. Now, I'm just going to undo that, and I'm going to do it the wrong way. So remember the one time I was clicking on the line? So I'm going to do that. And what happens when I do that, you can see the Z is pointing in a different direction. So watch what happens. So the mate connectors are oriented based on the orientation. So that's why sometimes you want to be really careful because you can get them mixed up. So I want to select that, and you'll notice I'm taking the face, I'm zooming in, and I can see the grayed out mate connector over here, and I'm looking to see, is the red pointing in the same direction? Yes, it is. Green check mark. So there is the fasten mate. Now, you can name mates just like you name other things. I don't tend to bother because you get a lot of mates. And what it can do is I can right click a part and I can go show mates. And that part has a mate connector right there. Oh, that's this mate. And I can open it up and I can see what it's mated to and I can make my decisions. So that allows me to see, and I can hide my mates by right clicking on them. So I now have an assembly. I have my top rail. Um, it does not have any degrees of freedom because it is fastened to the side rail, which is fixed in space. Now, there's a couple reasons that I want these fixed in space. Number one, I can select them, and down at the bottom right, I can select display mass properties, and there are some mass properties. So I can see how much everything weighs 0.9056 pounds, the volume, the surface area, and the center of mass. And this little icon here, that's the center of mass. So if I'm designing something, I always like to check the center of mass because the higher it is, the more likely the object is going to fall over. So this is nice and low. So it's really not likely to fall over. And if I make a square, that should put it right back over the origin, which is exactly kind of what I want. So, so that's the mass properties. The other thing that I wanted to show is the bill of materials. So over on the right, we have our BOM table, BOM, bill of materials. So the bill of materials are all the different items, and I can click on an item and see what it is, side rail, top rail. And remember I was mentioning about part numbers. So we set up part numbers the other day for the top rail, but we didn't do it for the side rail. So I'm going to quickly do it. And this is, I really like doing it in the bill of materials because I can see all the items and I can check the part numbers and just basically go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., etc. So to reminder with the part numbers, our first couple characters, so MCT, those are we use our initials. So for the robotics team, we use the team number 4152. For personal projects, we use our initials. The next 2 to 4 characters are the project. So this is just our February project. So we just used FEB for February. This is a P for a part, and then our subassembly. So we're only going to do one document in this, so it's just going to be 01 for everything. And then the last 2 digits are the unique part number. So basically, the idea with this, if I'm manufacturing these, I can go, okay, I've got a part for MCT. Oh, McTavish, that's yours. Um, Remember that project you're doing in February? Here's the part, and you only had one subassembly, but that's part one. It's easy to keep track of it. We can select our material. We can add in other information as well. But that way, when I complete a design, this is basically my shopping list. Okay, I need a side rail. Now, one thing that I really like to do, let's just click this side rail. We can see this side rail is 10 inches. And if we zoom out, we click that line, we can see that's 12 inches. So what I like to do is change my name 1 by 1 by 10 side rail. So it's 1 inch by 1 inch by 10. Um, and my top rail is 1 by 1 by 12. And that way, my measurements are right in the name so that when I'm going to go cut material and everything, I don't need to pull up the drawing and do a measurement. I can see right in the name, oh, I need 10 inches of that. So I'll pull aside 10 inches and good to go. So there is my part, um, my assembly, the bill of materials, and the center of gravity, the mass properties.